2020 was a very exhausting and depressing year for many people, especially film fans like myself. Not just socially, physically, and mentally were we affected by the pandemic, but our entertainment deeply suffered as well, in ways that the entire industry will never recover from. The delays, the theatrical experience, and the lack of content being released was only one of the major bummers the previous year brought us. Now, things are a little different. While a lot of movie theaters were shut down permanently, many of the major theater chains have been able to start back up, and we finally received the films that were promised last year before the pandemic started. And streaming services are still just as strong as they ever were. In terms of content, coinciding with the theatrical window, most notably with the Warner Brothers and HBO Max dual release strategy. And if you ask me, 2021 has been a very rehabilitating year for me personally as a film fan. Obviously it's not been perfect, and not every film that's been released so far in 2021 has been as well received as we hoped, but I think we can all agree that for now, the movies are back, and it's nice to finally say that. So, I'm gonna give my personal recommendations for the top 5 best films of the first half of 2021. The ones that have stuck with me the most, entertained me the most, or just given me a whole new outlook on filmmaking as a whole. These opinions may not go along with yours, and that's totally fine. So just don't lose sleep over these, okay? Okay, good. Let's do it. Number 5, Zack Snyder's Justice League. The DC films as of late have had quite an interesting reputation with audiences. It seems that no matter how successful or lackluster one performs, no one can quite agree with each other about them. Whether it's Joker, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, or even Shazam. It seems DC just can't simply reach the crowd-pleasing level that Disney has with the MCU. But I don't think they have to, because that means they can take more risks with their IPs. And if the risks mean getting more films like Snyder's cut of his superhero epic, I'm all for it. Zack Snyder's Justice League at 4 hours long, for the most part earns it, with a greater understanding of its characters, a brand new kick-ass musical score by Tom Holkenborg, and overall a much more cohesive, spectacular, and a much more emotional experience than the 2017 Frankenstein's monster of a cut could ever pull off. While the 4:3 aspect ratio might throw some viewers off from it, I find it very unique looking, and the fact that it's completely uncropped makes me want even more movies to be released in their raw forms. This film and Army of the Dead this year proved that Zack Snyder is probably best without all the studio interference. And whether or not he always succeeds at what he tries doesn't really matter. He's an artist who does what he thinks is best and doesn't care what anyone else thinks. And that's a quality that most filmmakers today, I believe, are afraid of. The fact that WB cut one of the greatest scenes I have ever seen in a comic book film, where the Flash outruns time itself to save the Justice League, is something that I can never forgive. And not just that, but the entire character arcs of Victor Stone and his father, Steppenwolf, Barry Allen, Kal-El, and virtually every other character left a much bigger impact on me this time, and they thought that shit like this would be better. Whether you're a Snyder fan or not, I think we can all appreciate the work that went in to get a unique visionary's dream come true. This is the Justice League movie that I wanted all along. Number 4, The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Few times have I ever watched a movie and thought, this is literally my life represented on screen. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is one of those films that feels personal to me on a whole other level. And not only that, but it's a breathtaking film with gorgeous animation, funny side characters and villains, and a beautiful family dynamic that emotionally connects. Lord and Miller were producers on the film, and you can easily tell, and this is yet another home run from them after Into the Spider-Verse. They not only have a great sense of humor, but they also have a great understanding of character and drama as well to ground the story to make it enjoyable to literally anyone. You didn't have to grow up with Lego to love the Lego Movie. You don't have to have a giant knowledge of Spider-Man's history to get sucked into the Spider-Verse, and you don't have to be an aspiring filmmaker to be touched by Mitchells vs. the Machines. At its heart, this film is about someone's passion, and how far they are willing to go to keep that passion without sacrificing the people they love the most. That's why I have such a connection with this film. Not only is it a great fun adventure with robots, but it also made me look back at the things I have made growing up, and why no matter how rough or dumb they might be, It's something that you should always hold on to, because you made it for you deep down. This is a film that anyone who loves film should watch, and I hope it picks up a much bigger audience down the line. Number 3, A Quiet Place Part 2. John Krasinski did such an incredible job with the original, suspenseful, and brilliant A Quiet Place that it seems so unlikely that level of success would ever be topped. But on one of the rare occasions, I think A Quiet Place 2 is not only great, I think it might be better than the first film. The world is expanded upon much more in the sequel, making the circumstances and the situations the characters face much more believable and terrifying to be in. Watching the film in theaters, I felt like I was watching our generation's own equivalent to Spielberg's classic blockbusters like Jurassic Park or E.T., as the intensity and the direction keep you gripped to your seat until the end credits roll. There are entire tribes of survivors, some that have found out to live life somewhat normally, and then those who have turned on their fellow man. And then there's Cillian Murphy's Emmett, who really is the heart of the film's story, suffering from a tragic loss of almost everyone he loved and trusted, but finds a new purpose in life to protect a family in desperate need for help. His performance in the film is absolutely brilliant, as are almost every other actor in the film. The children have much more to do in the sequel, and in many ways are the main characters here that save the day in the end. A Quiet Place Part 2 is every bit as satisfying, intense, and as well executed as I wanted it to be. Number 2, In the Heights. Of all the films in this list, the one I am most disappointed in the American audience for is the new Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, In the Heights. This film is done so poorly in the box office, despite the fact that everyone who has seen it has loved it, is depressing to me. This is one of the most alive, upbeat, and pleasant films of the entire year without a doubt, and despite not having any real big names in the cast, feels like a movie that was made by top Hollywood professionals. I've heard all over Twitter that many people found the film to be colorist, and to some extent I can see why, but what about the quality of the film itself? Because I think this is a staggering effort by director John M. Chu, who is getting better and better as a director after making, well, these things in the past. The editing is pitch perfect, the choreography is beautiful, and of course the songs themselves are outstanding. In the Heights is a film that's all about community and home, and how home is not defined by your ambitions and dreams, but the small details that make up where you are right now. Keeping the little dreams, or sueñitos, as the film puts it, can be the most truthful and honest way to set you up to find what you desire the most. This is, in my opinion, the best musical film I've seen since La La Land, and I really hope this picks up at least a couple Oscar nominations come next year. Number 1, and you might be surprised by this, Bo Burnham's Inside. Yes, the Netflix comedy special by Bo Burnham released last month is my favorite film of 2021 so far. Why? Because this should by all counts been absolutely miserable to sit through. Musician and comedian Bo Burnham essentially locked himself in one room for the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, alone with nothing but a camera, lights, and loads of production equipment, and filmed an entire comedy special for more than a year. This should literally be the most unwatchable, boring, and depressing thing you could ever watch. And it is. But what makes it watchable, enthralling, and consistently engaging is Bo Burnham's unbelievable craft for purposeful cinematography, immaculate editing, and an unbelievable expression for the isolation and raw feeling felt by the filmmaker. And that is honestly the best way to describe this film, raw. This is the opposite of a Hollywood IP-based blockbuster. There's no CGI, no A-list cast, no big plot or villain, and no wasted time. It's the pure imagination, effort, and vision of the world by one person, and his introspective journey of being in one room for a long period of time, and how he chooses to portray it through brilliant songs, hilarious skits, and long stretches of unedited time of just simply trying to exist in a world that is shrinking by the second. This was the piece of media I had no idea I needed after 2020. one that didn't take advantage of its audience, that didn't sugarcoat the tragedy, and wasn't designed to say anything about what to do about it. It is purely and simply an existential study of one person's creativity and how he chose to use it in a completely unprecedented time. I don't think I've ever felt this way about a film, TV show, or comedy special in my years of consuming media. It's an experience that I don't think I will ever have again with anything else, and for that, I have to claim that Inside is the best film of 2021 as of yet, and if something tops it, I will be so very surprised.